hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the UnLearnT podcast. I'm your host, Abigail, aka RA.
What's up, friends? It's your girl, Jaquita.
And this is indeed the podcast that is helping you gain the courage to change your mind so that you, yes, you, can experience more freedom.
My
and here we
Lord.
are, once again.
One more time.
One more time in the house of the UnLearnT to...
My Lord, talk your talk, Ruth Abigail, talk your talk. My Lord.
To discuss leadership styles. And I think it's been, this is really funny recently. Quita, you said that somebody that you know described our podcast as intellectual, which I wasn't sure that I agree with. And then I was like, maybe. I don't know.
A little bit. I can see it a little bit. We try to get people a little bit of both. We're giving you but low key, this is our real dynamic. Like what you guys see on the podcast, this is me and Ruth Abigail. We have decided to make our friendship public.
Yeah, that's facts.
And I really feel like, we've been doing this. Like this is how we have always talked. Like,
yeah, it's true. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess we most of our conversations lean in this type of direction. Like we're not really like, as you would say, kikiers. Well, I'm not.
Me and Joy can kiki.
Yeah.
Me and Joy, we can get a good little kiki in.
Yeah.
Ruth Abigail, first of all, Ruth Abigail will ruin a whole kiki. You'll be like, girl, guess what happened? And da-da-da-da-da. Ruth be like, that doesn't make any sense. And I don't agree with that. And actually, that's really not the way you should do it. What you actually should do is this, and that. And the kiki is just done. It's over.
Yeah. It's not my style. Not my style. Not what I do.
No. Ruth, she's not a kikier, but we love her still, people. We love her still.
Thank you for the but. You know what I'm saying? That's obviously like, when you say that, it's like...
The friendship lives right there. It lives right there in the in-between. Okay.
Dang, golly.
No, but again, people who make you better are not going to be the same as you, and you have to, and I think we brighten up that side of each other's lives. Like, like if there was a light bulb on my intellectual side, like Ruth Abigail comes and that side starts blinking and flittering and gets all excited because that's where we light up each other's lives. And you gotta know where you're...
That's so sweet.
I wasn't even trying to be sentimental. But I'm glad you received it as such. But you have to know where people are fitting in your life. Because I just watched this one podcast that Ruth Abigail sent me because we're trying to make sure we're broadening our horizons.
Absolutely.
So we can continue to broaden the scope of the podcast.
Yes, absolutely.
But one of the things that she talked about that was mentioned was like these 7 like rest styles, like the 7. Yes. And I was like, Lord, and I've been talking to some friends and I'm like, I don't feel like I'm getting what I need right now. Like, I'm taking a little hiatus from classes, but I don't feel like I'm getting what I need. And there's different styles of rest and different ways to find peace and for your brain and your mind and your spirit and your emotions to settle. And I think it's important that who around you is going to contribute to what levels of rest. If you need spiritual rest, it's not going to be good for you to go to people who are constantly pulling on that. There's a difference. Okay, I'm sorry. This ain't even the podcast topic for today.
This ain't in your notes.
This ain't in my notes. This ain't in my notes. You get this for free. Okay? There is a difference between someone contributing and someone pulling. Right? If you are spiritually drained, but you have people in your life who like, I need spiritual insight and depth and growth. Right. And you're having these conversations that could maybe from another person seem spiritually uplifting, but because that person is seeking, it's pulling. That's draining. And you need to know how people are adding are supporting, are pulling, you need to be aware of what's happening in your relationships so that you can get real rest. Not that we putting anybody to the side, but you need to know, oh, I need rest in this area, and this ain't the place I'm gonna be able to get. My light bulb did not turn on here. Which leads us to what we're going to talk about today, okay? Because we are talking about the laws. I thought Ruth Abigail was going to do it, but she just looked at me like,
you jumped in a little fast.
Okay, I
was literally about to do it. No,
I'm
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Okay, well, today I think the leadership style that we're talking about really kind of links, like, kind of segues really well with this current conversation. Is we are talking about the laissez-faire leadership style, okay? Laissez-faire. And laissez-faire literally means, like, translates to let do or leave alone. Right? And so, like, it is a leadership style that has minimal intervention. This is not a helicoptering leadership style.
Right.
This is a stand back and watch everything work together leadership style. So it's not hands-on. It's not going to be as involved. And I think it's probably the leadership style that, because of that, can be the most misunderstood.
Whenever I used to think about it, lazy is what I would think.
Yeah, I mean, it really does. It sounds like that.
Yeah. But it's really not at all.
Always the truth.
No, it's not at all. It's not at all. I think that it is a leadership style that, in some regards, can be a little bit of a mile marker in your own leadership, because when you get to a point where this style works well, there's something that's been done to get there. Because in order for this style to work well, you have to have a team of people who can operate at a level that doesn't require you to be in the midst of things, right? Whether that is, and producer Joy and Quita help me with this, because they kind of turned me around a little bit on some of the requirements for this. And so I think it's you got to have determined people who are self-starters, people who want to grow. Like, you don't need to, they don't need motivation, right? And then
autonomous.
Yeah, but autonomous in the sense of, like, their autonomy doesn't lead to them just doing their own thing. It leads to them doing what's necessary. Right?
Humble.
Yes.
There's a sense of humility that, even though you're not always over me, like if you have a laissez-faire leader, even though you're not always over me, I don't have some secret plot to build something bigger than the vision of the team. Right? Like, I'm really trying to contribute to what we have here.
Right.
And I have examples, but I want you to go on.
Well, no, I mean, I think you should talk about your examples, but hold on, before we do that, let's describe it real quick, just so people like a full version of it. So it's hands off, where the leader provides minimal direction. It's still you still provide direction. It's just minimal. And allows team members or employees a high degree of autonomy, decision making, and task execution. Right. So it's not that you're not lazy, you're not paying attention. Right. You give minimal direction, and you take your hands off, and you go let them do things. Right. You go watch them work, and then be available when you need to be available, but there's no need for you to be proactively available.
Yeah.
Which I have done in the past, and we can talk about that later. So low direct supervision, high autonomy, you're supportive, right? Not directive. It's used best with skilled teams, and I'll add an asterisk to that: skilled and or determined self-starting teams. So even if your team is not highly skilled, if they are determined and self-starters, you can get away with it. I think all the three of us who were kind of doing our pre-conversation all kind of noted that we have had at some points laissez-faire leadership at times where we weren't highly skilled at our jobs. And so it's like we came in kind of green at what we're doing, but there was still trust because of our kind of determined nature, right? Our self-starting character. We're able to just do things.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting because I, even as a person that has had laissez-faire leadership, like I find myself having grown and being able to be under that leadership style. Because when I first started kind of in student affairs, campus life, like I was like, yo, where my leader at? Like, where they at? Like, don't nobody show up. Ain't nobody told me how to do anything.
Yeah.
I created a vision and a plan. They were like, that's fantastic. After they realized that I was going to create vision and plan that I was going to move forward with, I never had not one. Hear me, not one. One-on-one meeting, no supervisory check-in. The only meetings I had were, they used to call me JQ. Only meetings I had was JQ, we want you to come in and make us a video. Okay, we want you to get the team. Now they got ideas of what they want to do, but not like, hey, how can I support you? What do you need?
Sure.
And so like at that time when I was kind of, just getting started in this particular field, I was kind of like, so it's just me against the world. And so me and my team became something separate than the larger vision of the division, honestly. Like we were like, we over here doing our thing. We don't know what everybody else doing. We over here doing our thing. We're going to make it amazing, which I did. But I think I've grown now because I would say that I've been under other leadership styles other leaders who have that laissez-faire leadership style. And I think that I recognize their leadership style is not licensed for me to have the takeover spirit. Or for me to build something that's bigger than, I'm sorry, I just saw David Ruffin and Otis, nobody's bigger than the group. Ain't nobody came to see you, Otis. Okay? Because that's exactly how I felt back in the day. I was David Ruffin, okay? And they were, ain't nobody come to see the rest of y'all. Okay? I'm a showstopper, but I've had to learn, and I think something that is so needed, when we're talking about the people who are working under these kind of laissez-faire leaders, where there's really not always a lot of oversight, high level of trust, low level of supervision, low level of, and I don't think that there's necessarily a low level of support. You just have to recognize how support is being given. It may not be in the way that you expect. Sometimes they out there, and they're your biggest advocate. They're talking you up. They're the reason you think you're making progress because of your effort, but your laissez-faire leader might be above you, creating avenues and pathways and opportunities for you, and that's why you're succeeding. But you don't see what they're doing. And I think that that's something that I've learned. Like when I look back on my career, that I've had to grow as a person that submits to leadership, and not submits to the leaders that I like their style, but submit to understand that they might be covering me in a different way.
I think it's a great point. So, all right. So story I had when I first got here to Memphis, I was working for an organization, and I'd never done what I was hired to do a mentoring program, but we had just started doing what we had just started in the neighborhood, and we didn't have a building yet. And so we were just starting programming. And so I didn't have any kids to do the mentoring program with. And so my first year was really about outreach, which I did not know coming in there. I didn't even really understand what it was. I'd never done it before, all this stuff. So my boss at the time, he, two very clear examples of laissez-faire leadership that were great because he understood who I was. I didn't need him to give me much. But, so I think like I walked into the middle school cafeteria with middle school students I did not know. It's like 7th graders. And he walked me through the school, and he was going around introducing himself to all these kids. And he's very life of the party, very charismatic guy. He'd been doing this forever. And I'm sitting here like, and we did it. And I was like, I don't know how to do that. And then when we left, he was like, all right, you got it. This was like in the first couple weeks. I said, God, what? So I avoided it for a while till I had to do it. But he was just like, you got it. And the second time he said that, we had to put on a program for the middle school, for the both grade levels. We did it. So we were the second site. We had a first site, and we wanted to show them kind of what we were coming in, some of the things we were going to do. So we did what we call club. And so it was basically like, it's a whole bunch of games and hype moments. And we, maybe have a couple of songs, and you give a little inspirational message. So myself and my team member at the time, who quite frankly was a pretty horrible team member, he ended up getting fired before his 90 days. But
oh Lord.
Yeah, he was not good. So but he didn't even show up to this, right? We had planned it. He was supposed to be the hype person. I was supposed to get a message. He didn't show up. And so my boss came, and I told him, I was like, hey, homeboy, is it coming? Talk about he has a migraine, he can't make it. Okay. So so then he was like, okay, I'm on my way. So my boss comes up, and we're in the back, and there's like 100-something seventh graders in the room. Mind you, I'd never done this before. I had seen this done one time at the center we were at for their kids after school. I'd seen it done one time. We did it. Or they came in. My boss were in the back. We were about to get started. Are you good? What? And this man left, gone, left. So I had to go up into the stage, and I had to be the hype person. And that is so not who I was. Now, I learned how to do it, but I'm not very cool. I'm in an environment that I'm not I don't do this. This isn't what I do. That's not what you hired me to do. And so I had to ask one of the coaches. I said, hey, can you help me hype up this crowd? Help me. He was like, oh yeah, no problem. So we did it, and it was fine. But he understood who he had on his team. He understood who I was as a worker, and he knew I wasn't going to let the thing fail. We were going to do this, and it was going to be as best as I could make it. Right now, he might have had other things to do, or he might have just did that on purpose just to throw me in the fire. I don't know. Right? I have never asked him.
Laissez-faire leaders love a fire, throw you in the pool moment.
But it worked. Yeah. And I think that to one of the things that laissez-faire leadership can do, I think you mentioned this. Did you just say this on the recording, or say it before? The growth of somebody under laissez-faire leadership can be very exponential, because you have to perform, right, in areas where you don't have as much supervision. So if you have the kind of self-starter mentality, and you have the integrity of a hard worker, and you're going to do well regardless of, you actually end up growing under this kind of leadership, or can, because you have to figure things out on your own, and you learn things that you probably wouldn't have learned if you were kind of given the steps along the way.
Yeah. I also think one of the strengths of laissez-faire leadership is that they really believe in the gifts and talents of other people. Like your boss believed in your ability to pull off a good show. And not just because oh yeah, she's a hard worker, but because no, she's gifted enough to do this.
Right.
And she might not, and his thought probably was, she may not do it the way that I would do it, but she's going to do it in a way that's going to be effective.
Correct.
And I think that trait is something that kind of stands very tall with laissez-faire leadership versus other leadership styles, where they might believe in you, but they're also but you need some fine tuning. You need some this. I think that laissez-faire leadership says, you don't need me. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't need me to be great. You don't need me to do a good job. You don't need me to pull things off. You have what it takes. And that can feel very empowering.
It can.
Although I felt a little abandoned at times.
I
also felt very empowered that everyone believed in me. Nobody ever thought, no, she's gonna be able to do that right there.
Right.
Everybody was like, oh no, Quita on it. Good. But I will say, as a person that has worked under that type of leadership before, like, yes, like you do feel really empowered. Like you like, oh, I can kill this. I can do this. Oh, I can do that. You start sacrificing for the team. You don't, and I think going back to our birth order conversation, I really feel like as an older child, older daughter underneath laissez-faire leadership, my thought always goes to somebody else may need them more than me. Or something that they're doing might be more important than what I need. Right. And so I think as a laissez-faire leader, you have to figure out and you have to be mindful of when it's time for you to step in.
Yeah.
Or else your people will, eventually my thought process is going to go from, okay, I'll take one for the team. To I'm ignored. I'm not supported in the way that other people might feel like they are. I don't get what I need. And then laissez-faire leadership, I think, which this might be a separate point, there's such a lack of communication there because you may not be ignoring me, but because you're not communicating what you are doing, I get to build my own narrative. Yeah. And this is how you get narratives of, oh, so you ignoring me because I'm Black.
Yeah. Is that how we get narratives like that?
Sometimes we do.
Interesting. I didn't think you were gonna go there. I didn't see
the
connection.
But it's okay.
But
let me tell you something. Yeah. I work at and have always worked at, well, not Greenville Tech, but mostly have worked at PWIs.
Yeah.
And I think as a person of color in those spaces, when things happen, and I also think, this is again a separate conversation, but when you are a person of color in those spaces, you are hyper aware of your difference, like, and again, when we're not having communication, I'm going to build a narrative that may not at all be your intent. I think is the point I'm trying to make, whether it's about color, whether it's about, how I'm being perceived in that space, or it could be, oh, you're ignoring me because you don't like me.
Yeah.
Like they don't, what I'm saying? You build a narrative and that narrative becomes damaging to the team. And what's even more damaging is that leader does not know what your narrative is. And I have been in too many situations where the leader is oblivious to what everyone really thinks about them.
Yeah. That's facts.
I probably have been the leader.
Yeah. Sure.
Where I was not aware of how people really felt. And I feel like this leadership style, maybe more than some other ones, gets caught in that trap a lot because there's not as much communication.
And I think that's a really interesting point. You can kind of I know for me, when I have leaned into this style, because I'm a worker. Like I like to work. I'm a 3 on the Enneagram. I like to achieve things, all of that. So for me, and this I don't think is a healthy way to go, and I've done this. It's like this style works for me because then I can focus on what I want to focus on. And I can focus on kind of the things that I really want to lean into personally for my own, like, just achieving whatever I'm trying to achieve within the context of the role. But like, I get to do that as opposed to overseeing what other people are doing. I don't think that that's a good way to think about this leadership style, but I know for me and my personality, that's one of the reasons I've leaned into it, and I've leaned into it at the wrong time. And then I've missed opportunities to lean into it. And so I think you do have to be very hyper aware and of the situation you're in. And to your point, the communication, not just communication as far as like letting people kind of know what you're doing, what you're thinking, what's going on, but also the communication around expectations that you have as a leader so that you can have that level of trust with a team who is moving without real supervision. Because without that level of trust, this particular style becomes very dangerous. you can't have this style without trust. And so I think my mistake has been trying to achieve this style with low levels of trust, and trying to achieve this style with low level of clarity of expectation, which leads to low levels of trust, because then my expectations aren't met, and then I don't think you can do what you need to do. So now I'm going to be more hands-on when you don't need me to be. Really what you needed was clarity of expectations. And as a new leader in that role, I didn't know what those were. And so what I found myself doing was leaning into a style that they really didn't need, because I was unclear about what I needed from them, and I didn't know how to communicate it. And it was more, and it felt like I didn't trust them, which they said to me pretty explicitly, like, you don't trust us. And I was like, what are you talking about? Of course I trust you. Like, I don't be here a lot, but I be here. You know what I'm saying? I really wasn't always physically present, but it was always a chance that I would pop up, because I just wanted to. I didn't. If I'm being honest, I didn't. Like, I wasn't sure. Are things gonna start on time? Or we have the right people in the room? Or, all this stuff. Just stuff. And there was no reason for that, but that's how it was functioning. And so this style it was needed, but I couldn't do it because I had a low level of trust. But that's because I had not set clear expectations. And then on the other hand, I've also been in situations where my capacity has needed this leadership style. I need to be this kind of leader, but the team that I have isn't necessarily totally ready for that.
Yeah.
And so, so you just have to be very hyper aware of the situation you're in, and making sure that communication is clear, and making sure you have the right motivation for moving into this style. Like, and I think all three of those things I have gotten wrong.
Hold on, because I don't think that we can skip past motivation, because I think if your motivation, like how you were talking, like, man, this leadership style allows me basically to do what I want to do, and the team can figure out their part, and I can do what I want to do. Like, your motivation for having this leadership style is everything.
Mm-hmm.
It is. You are not going to be effective as this type of leader if you do not examine your intentions and motives
for sure
behind the style. It has to be purposeful.
Yeah.
Right. If you are doing this haphazardly, or if you just kind of fell into a laissez-faire leadership style, I also think you have to be mindful. Like, are you laissez-faire because you don't know what to do?
Also, listen,
you know what I'm saying? Like, are you like, right, hey, I'm hands off because I don't know how to lead?
Yes.
Right. And if you invested more into your own development and growth, would your leadership style look a little different?
Right.
Right. Because I think there is nothing wrong with the laissez-faire leadership style, but the whole idea of let do, leave alone only works if you are intentionally doing it.
Yeah.
Not if you're like, I'm scared to lead. Right. I'm scared to take the reins. I'm scared to be an authority. Because if you are coming from the mindset of this leadership style is best for my team right now, right? If at any point it was not what was best, you would step up. And you would know how to intervene. Right. Right. You would say, okay, whoa. We got off track somewhere. Everybody meet in my office. When I found myself, because I would not say that I have a completely laissez-faire leadership style, but I will say that once that train is rolling, once all the gears are oiled up and everybody's good to go, I fall back. All right. Yeah. I'm not helicoptering. I'm not over monitoring. I'm here to encourage, to uplift. Now, when I think about that, I'm like, okay, now I can do what I really want to do, which is, help to build your confidence, help to strengthen you to become, for your next thing. And I don't have to worry about this thing we're working on right now, because you got that. Mm-hmm. Like, you can do all the projects and all the things and all the this and all of that. I ain't got to focus on that. And I'm grateful.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I can see how, really, I'm transformational, but we ain't there yet. I can see how it can it can look very laissez-faire, but you gotta know your intervention points. So for a while, I had a team where I was like, we a well-oiled machine, baby. Everybody got their things, you know what I'm saying? Until somebody didn't have their thing. And then somebody else didn't have it. And now somebody else ain't got it. And so you know what I did? I said, all right, we're doing team meetings every 2 weeks. All right. I'm restructuring the one-on-ones. This is how we're going to do our one-on-one meetings to make sure everybody's getting what they need. I'm stepping back in to walk with you guys a little bit more. You have to be able to pivot. And I think that is the high point of every conversation that we've had so far about each of these leadership styles. None of them are so good that you can be that all the time.
You can't.
None of these leadership styles are the one, right? No. You can ask my team. If you ask my former team right now, what was Jaquita's leadership style? They would say transformational leadership, because I told them that. I was like, hey, I want to be honest and upfront with you all about who I am, what my true motive as your leader is. Right. I don't want you to feel like, you guys snuck up on and Jaquita trying to be transformational. No. I was very clear. I told you up front, but I hope that they would also be able to say that I was able to pivot. Right. You have to know who you are, but you have to continuously, as a leader, you have to continuously be adding to your toolkit and learning about what another approach may look like.
Right.
And how, and it doesn't, I never, not one time, one thing I am going to be is authentic. I did not have to become someone else to employ a different leadership style. I did it my way.
Yeah.
Right. So if I needed to be more authoritative, or if I needed to be more, what's the other one we've done so far? Democratic.
Sure.
If I needed to step into one of those leadership styles, I could do that, knowing that at the end of the day, I'm going to get us back to transformation, because that's who I am, and so it's okay to pivot. Right. And I think a lot of times, I feel like the laissez-faire leadership style is one that people can also get really stuck on. Like, no, I let my team do their thing. I don't have to do all that interference stuff, because they got it. And even if they ain't got it, they gonna get it. And I don't have to do that. And you can get stuck like that. But then I just think it's important for every leader to have a real understanding of what the people under you really think about your leadership.
You need to do a 360 evaluation.
You really do.
Yeah.
You really do. You don't get to be a leader and not be evaluated.
Yeah.
You don't get to be a leader and not hear from your people.
And you probably won't like it. Some of it.
You won't.
You won't like it.
But
it'll make you better, because you won't know the impact of your leadership, no matter what style it is, until somebody tells you. And then you can take the steps to do what you need to do. I think it also gives you an opportunity to see where your team really is, because you can see them one way. And a lot of times, sometimes you can see them one way because that's how you want them to be. Like, you want to be able, you want that. And it's like, I'm kind of seeing what I want to see, and I'm not really seeing what is. And you got to put yourself in a position of vulnerability as a leader to be told what is. Yeah. I know this is what you want, and I know this is your aspiration. I know this is your desire for us, but this is not where we are right now, right?
Yeah.
Or, I need you to see us for more than what you're seeing us as. Like, we actually are here, and you're treating us here. It's like, okay, so you need to hear that and understand that. And I like what you said, Quinn, about this particular leadership style. You can get stuck in it, but I think we can get stuck in any leadership. Part of being a leader is saying, I'm going to mold myself for the moment. Like, and I'm going to choose to do that every time. I was just talking with my sister-in-law, and she was just saying how she's in this, I guess, cohort about leadership, and they asked them all to define leadership. And she said, one of the things she said was, leadership is a daily choice. It is a daily choice. It is about character and choice. And I was like, I love that. I think that's so true. because you have to decide, and it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle of submitting to the moment. Like, you don't get to be a leader and be stuck in your own style, be stuck in your own way. That's not what leading is. When the direction changes, you got to change, because you have people that are looking to you.
Here's the thing. As the leader, I don't care if you laissez-faire, democratic or whatever, but especially laissez-faire. It is a hard thing when your team is more aware of what's happening than you.
Absolutely.
Because they're in it day to day. And so you, as the leader, it doesn't matter what your leadership style is, you should be at least one step ahead of your team. You should be able to see when the changes are coming, when a need is coming, when, you know what I'm saying? There are some things that come that knock us all off our feet. But as the leader, at some point, I'm going to expect you to stand up and be the leader. And not the leader from a distance. You know, I'm gonna when the stuff start flying, okay, and the things start coming, and stuff starts going down. Let me tell you something. One thing Jaquita learned, okay, is to stay at her pay raise. Okay, that's above me.
Yeah,
it's above me now. Okay, I'm so sorry. Like, your team should still be able to say, my supervisor is going to handle that.
Correct. Absolutely.
I have a leader.
That's a great point.
That's going to take the hard stuff, the hits.
That's it.
Your team should not be taking the hits because you're not present.
That's a great point.
And when you decide that you trust your team and they got it and they're going to do it, when something goes wrong, the responsibility still lands with you.
That's on you.
It's on you. And so if you are the type of leader who is detached and distant and they got it and let do and leave alone, but when stuff goes wrong, you like, hey, I gave that to my team and they were supposed to handle that. I don't know why they didn't do it. Absolutely not.
No,
the buck stops with you.
You said this earlier, being clear on what your leader, you may not know all that your leader is doing, but you need to understand. It can be dangerous when you don't know what your leaders do. Like, you just don't know, like, how it impacts you. And I think that's one of the ways you can put ease to your team is, even if they know, there are certain problems that I don't have to worry about. And if you help them to understand that, and then you deliver when those things happen, because they will, then you can, with confidence, they're doing their thing and they know who to call when there's an emergency. And that's something that I learned how to do, and I hope I do it well. But if there's ever any anxiety around something, whether it's a parent is mad or we have to clean something up because we messed up a communication, or this happened not too long ago. There was an active shooter outside of the building.
My Lord.
And there were a couple of, don't do that. Hold on. Don't do that. Hold on, because we already in the news. It's too much.
Oh Lord.
No.
Joy, delete that.
No. I'm saying, people are saying that about Memphis. That ain't who we really are. It did happen, but that ain't all we are. Anyway, I digress. But the team, I wasn't there. And they were leaving getting to their cars. And some guys had come up and down the street anyway with, all the guns. And there was, so one of my team members was getting in the car with a kid, and there was a shots fired at their, towards their direction. So anyway, they were telling me all this, and we had an emergency team meeting. We had a team meeting.
That's an emergency team meeting.
I guess so. That would be what that is. The next morning, just to go over protocol and all this stuff and make sure everybody was okay and all that. And so one of the things I was like, we have to share with parents what happened. They need to know. That's not something we keep and we don't say. We communicate out, even though kids weren't necessarily, most of the kids had gone home. Nobody was hurt, all that stuff, but at least they need to know that we're aware and that their children are going to be safe, because at the very least we're going to tell them what's going on.
Yeah, I'm
And
about to say it's gonna
who
get out
that
anyway.
who that can no, it wouldn't have. Quite frankly, where we are, it doesn't get out because it happens more than maybe other places, and they're not reporting on our neighborhood, so they didn't have to know. But we felt it was our responsibility. That's what we do, right? Like we want you to know what's going on. We want you to know that we have the backs of your kids. And you know who sent that out? Me. I send that out. They hear from me, and I send it out, and I sign my name to it, right? That's even though I wasn't present, I didn't experience it, but that's not a responsibility for anybody else but me. And if you have any questions about what happened, you call me. Don't call my team, right?
That part. And see, that's what we want right there. You know what I'm saying? I want somebody gonna stick their chest out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And stand on business. If you gonna be laissez-faire, you know what I'm saying? You cannot, when it's time, where are your feet planted?
Yes.
Who knows who you are and what you stand for? Like, because I still need to know I'm gonna be excellent. I'm gonna be amazing. I'm gonna get my things done. But I need to know that you standing there in case somebody got something to say.
That's correct.
Or in case something's gonna happen. Right. I had a fantastic boss. Love that man. Great leader. And I remember there were a couple of times where things were getting heated, not in my office, but just on campus. And there were some things I was going to have to respond to. And I just remember him being like, I got it. Like, I'm not going to put you out there. It could have been my job to be, and I mean, it could have gotten to the point where I had to write statements that may be on the news. Or, but knowing that he was there meant everything. Knowing that he was going to put his name on things and that he was going to stand 10 toes down for me meant everything. Because you need, and I think that's kind of my next point with laissez-faire, is that if you have this leadership style, you cannot go in without building a structure. You have to build your way to this.
You need a system.
Yeah, the idea that you're going to come in on day one and be like, all right, everybody do your thing. All right, want to see you all flourish. I'll be checking in, bi-monthly,
Right.
You gotta build your way there, player. You know what I'm saying? You gotta build some structures. And I think it's important that you, as the leader, one of the things that I started asking anytime I hired someone new, what are your expectations of me as a supervisor? Right? Like, what are you expecting from me? You need to be communicating with your team. You need to know the needs of your team. You need to know what it is that will help them to flourish. And like you said, Ruth Abigail, it is the job of every leader to become. Paul says that I became all things to all men, that by all means I might gain some. Okay. You don't get to be static.
No,
you have to become what they need in order to get them to where they're going.
Yeah.
Right. Because, and you, above all, here's the thing, their task is their responsibility. So, you know what I'm saying? The things in their job descriptions, that's where they get their W's, right? That's where they get their wins. I successfully orchestrated this program. I successfully led this initiative. I successfully did my job. Their job is their responsibility. The team is where you get your wins.
Yeah.
And
right.
You are overseeing the mission and the vision of a thing, not a task. And so when you are over vision and when you are over a team, you are taking care of all the moving parts. So with one person, you may be able to be laissez-faire, but with another person, you may need to be a little bit more democratic.
That's an excellent point.
Somebody on your team might require you to be a little bit more autocratic.
You ain't lying.
You got to put your foot down a little bit,
Come here.
Come here. What you doing? Write a schedule out. Okay. I need to know because you tripping. Right?
Your
But
phone. I'm sorry.
They might respond better to that. And then you meet them where they are. I don't care what your leadership style is. Again, transformational leadership right here all day, all long. And I look back and I realized, there were moments where I look back and I'm like, I could have handled that better.
For
right?
sure.
I had a team member that really stressed me out because they were always stressed out. And I told my team, we don't do anxiety. Okay, we don't. We're not, and nothing we do on this job is that serious to where we need to be anxious. If there's something that ain't going right, we're going to handle it and we're going to move on and have a great day. Right. But I had a team member who she would hit moments where she felt really stressed out. And I did not fully recognize her stress because I had told her, we're not stressing about this. It's going to be fine. And I look back and I'm like, okay, this is where my laissez-faire probably was unfair because it is not up to you to decide the capacity and the responses of your team members. Yeah. It's also not my job to make your job less stressful. Nope. Like that's not my job either.
It's not.
But I can be a little bit more, I can coach more. Instead of saying,
have a little bit more empathy,
Yes, empathy, but empathy is not going to resolve it.
No, it's not. But it'll help with the way that it is received.
Yes, but ultimately, when people want either less work or more pay, and you don't have either one of those to offer them,
well, that's
yes, empathy, I'm saying empathy is good. Yes. You need to be more empathetic. But I also think that you need to be more communicative about you have to allow them the opportunity to express what they're feeling. You have to believe what they're feeling. And then you have to find somewhere down the line that you can offer either some trade-offs or you can coach.
Yeah, for sure.
Empathy, I think empathy is the starting point. But then you got to figure out, how am I going to coach this person? Because if you are telling me that one day you want my spot flash, you want my spot, right? If you're telling me that one day you would like to move into a role that is similar to mine, then you cannot faint here. I have to build up your strength. I have to build up what you're able to carry.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I think, again, if you are in the laissez-faire mode, though, you're not thinking about building and developing and making people better. You're thinking, man, my team is great.
Yeah. Well,
I
think
you're
thinking about it. It gives you the opportunity to think about capacity, and it gives you the opportunity to think about scale, right? That's where you can begin to think have the 3 to 5 years. You're thinking out further, much further than you even would normally because of your particular laissez-faire mode, because of who you're with. And for leaders that are strategic, that's a gift, right? And for leaders who are growth minded, that's a gift. I think lean into that season. If that's the season you're in, great. You won't always be in that season because at some point one of those skilled people is going to leave and a less skilled person is going to come, and you may not be able to have that, right? And so you have to lean into those moments and really take advantage of the opportunity to do those things, right? Because to your point, you gotta have structure is a must. It is a necessity for laissez-faire leadership. If you are all over the place, if you don't have things, processes written down, if you don't communicate, if you don't have schedules in place, if you don't have expectations, if you don't have those key things, those frames, if you don't have the right frame around the vision and boundaries, because frames are boundaries, and be able to focus the attention on what it is that you need them to focus on. If you don't have those things, laissez-faire is going to kill you. It's just going to kill you. It's going to kill you. It's going to kill the culture. You can't handle that. So if you don't have structure, you can't. I don't care if you have a skilled team or not. If you don't have structure, you can't do this. You have to spend your time gaining structure and making people understand the structure. Make sure people understand the structure, and all of that. So I wanted to make sure that was clear.
I think laissez-faire leadership is all about laying the groundwork. It's all about, you still want to make sure you are setting your team up for success, and not depending on them, not telling them that they have to build their own success.
Yeah.
But hey, I'm going to provide you with the proper guidance and groundwork that's going to help you to be successful. But I won't be holding your hand, but I have your groundwork for you. And you have to know how you are adding that value.
Well, that's it. I think we're done.
Yeah, laissez-faire. Okay.
Laissez-faire.
Leave alone, let do.
Let do. Right? Let go and let God.
Let go and let God. My Lord. My Lord.
So, what we need you to do, if this was of value to you, we need you to like, share, and subscribe. We need you to let us know what you're thinking.
We need that.
We want to hear from you. We want you to, again, join the community, be a part of this growing unlearning community, because we're growing. You know what I'm saying? We're growing as leaders. We're growing as people.
Absolutely.
And we
be transparent on here. Okay.
We be trying. It'd be a lot.
We be telling y'all the stuff.
Sometimes I don't be re-listening to it because I don't want to really be reminded of what I said.
There are definitely some episodes where I'm like, all right, I'm good on that one. Hope they were blessed.
Yeah, right.
But I don't want to relive my own trauma.
Correct. Right. I'm good. But if this is helpful to you, don't keep it to yourself, guys. Share it. We love doing this, and thank you for continuing to listen. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
So, Quita, we want to sign us off.
All right, friends, let's keep unlearning together so that we can. Sorry, she has literally in the history of the podcast never passed the sign off to me.
The pause is crazy. Like,
I was like, all right, friends. Thank y'all for joining us today. Let's keep unlearning together so that we can all experience more freedom. Peace.
Peace.